Modern horror games are a mixed bag. You just never know what you're gonna get. In recent memory, studios have been capitalizing off of old IPs and resurrecting old classics. In a lot of ways, this has been great. The rebirth of the Resident Evil games, along with bringing back the timeless classic Dead Space. It's been pretty good for survival horror in that regard. But something is still lacking. It feels like we rarely get an addition to the genre that is completely new and original. Not only new and original, but good.
Oh, what the fuck?
I don't know if that game's considered survival horror, but it's bad. Luckily, I recently played through a survival horror game that completely broke me. But that's exactly what you're looking for when you're playing this type of game, right? If you're looking for something to test your mental fortitude, something that will make you squeal,
he'll find him and make him squeal.
Then I wouldn't look too far past Amnesia: The Bunker. The scene is World War I, and the year is 1916. We play as a man named Henry, and the game starts with a simple quote. In order to survive this war, you'll need a basic set of skills and the good goddamn sense to do whatever's necessary. Little does the player know how significant this quote will be once we escape the war zone and actually get inside of the bunker itself. After a cinematic run for the trenches, the player is introduced to the first weapon of the game, a revolver that resembles the Model 1892 revolver, which was the standard issue sidearm for French officers in World War I. Shortly after retrieving the revolver, the player gets to put it to use and is faced with the first enemy type of the game: Germans. After nearly keeling over, your fellow comrade Lambert comes in to save the day with a gas mask. After a brief flash forward in time, the player is alone again, and this is where the grim tone of the game really starts to rear its ugly head. This is an extremely desolate and dark war zone. It's now eerily quiet, and we find Lambert alone in a cavern, barely clinging onto life. Lambert isn't able to walk. However, Henry is an absolute Chad and lifts his brother-in-arms up for one last chance of survival.
I'll get you back to safety. Just hold on to me.
Sadly, Lambert's fate is sealed shortly after. With no clear answer as to what has exactly happened, the player is greeted by nothing but a simple prompt. You are now on your own. Learn, adapt, experiment, and survive. This is where the true horror begins. After stumbling through a couple of dark rooms, a medical log can be found explaining the cause of Henry's amnesia. Get it? Amnesia? That's sort of the common thread in this franchise. One of the first items the player gets is also one of the most vital: the flashlight. It's sort of a double-edged sword in this game. It can light the way for you, or get you brutally killed with how loud it is to wind up.
For Christ's sake, will you just shut your trap?
Shut up!
After progressing just a little further down the hall, the player is greeted by a wounded soldier, who explains that you are completely trapped in the bunker, and the only way out is to blow the exit with dynamite.
You want to escape? You need to blow it back open. There's dynamite in the arsenal. And a handle to trigger it somewhere in the excavation site.
Thank God we don't have to face this nightmare alone. Just kidding, we have to face it alone. As soon as the player is alone, we are introduced to this game's brilliant sound design. Oh, shit, no! No. You see, all of the Amnesia games have had amazing ambiance and sound that really keeps things tense, and this game is no exception. The problem is that in this one, you really want to stay quiet because you can easily meet the same fate as the other fellow. Everything has potential to make noise. Doors, floors, and drawers creak and crackle. Oh, shut up. Shut up. Everything is so loud. Bullets also pop off especially loud inside of such a confined space. Alright, f*** it. Uh-oh. 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 Please open the door. The central bunker is the starting point of the game. Here we will collect some notes and stumble upon the only place in the game where you can feel moderately safe. We have a map that updates as you progress, a lamp that acts as a save point, and a generator that can be fueled to turn the lights on and ward off the beast for a temporary amount of time. After collecting a dog tag and getting the door code, the player is greeted by yet another tip. This time, it shows us exactly what type of game this really is. You can overcome most obstacles in multiple ways. Use your wits and your brains. Experiment. If you think something might be possible to do, it probably is. Afterwards, we get a note simply titled, "How to Get the Hell Out of Here." Pretty straightforward. This gives us a brief nudge in the right direction, but that's about it. So, not really that straightforward. After walking down the hall and clumsily breaking the wheel that opens up a larger chunk of the bunker, we can progress into mission storage. Here the player realizes that there's several items that are locked up and important for our survival. Right now, we're going to need the wheel. Progress to the soldier's quarters and break your way into Delisle's room and retrieve his dog tag. Now we can unlock his locker and retrieve the wheel. Once the lockdown is lifted, this is where the beast actively starts to hunt you. If the player is spotted, shooting around into the beast will stagger it and provide an opportunity for an escape. Now that the wheel is up and functioning, we could put it on, use it, and it's time to scout out the prison. Upon plunging deeper into the prison, the player is met with signs of life as we stumble across the prisoner. A German POW that was being interrogated by the French before the bunker was ravaged by the beast. His desperate cries can be heard coming from his cell, but remember, noise is the enemy in the bunker. Inside of his cell, we see a pair of bolt cutters that are clearly usable by the player. The major challenge is actually retrieving them. To get them, we're going to need to open up the area that controls the cell doors. And to get in there, we're going to need the wrench. This was the most harrowing part of the bunker for me. I can't take it anymore. I can't. The part that simply made me want to quit the f***ing game. Nevertheless, we move on. The bunker is an extremely unforgiving setting. Health can be a real rarity in the bunker, so having to plunge deep into maintenance with no healing items really tested my mental health. This is where the player will face the next most annoying enemy type, the rats. The rats will do anything and everything in the bunker to screw the player over. They'll bite you, kill you repeatedly, and give away your position. However, there is a way to ward them off. The player can head into the foreman's quarters and pick up Giroux's dog tag. Once obtained, the player can retrieve the lighter from his locker, which can be used to light wooden planks on fire and scare off these little devils. In here, the player will stumble across the chapel, which also serves as the beast's den. We grab a tag off of this grim altar and also find a friend in the confessional, while grabbing his key in the process. Defend yourself from the beast, run on by, and use the key we just obtained. Open the door. Open the door. This next small area is a real eye-opener. The player actually receives a glimpse of daylight, and some pop shots taken at us in the process. This is a wake-up call, and a clear reminder that Henry is stuck in between two nightmares simultaneously, one inside the bunker and one out. We can now use this tag to obtain the wrench. Now that we have it, the player can run to the prison, use it, get hopelessly jump scared. Oh my fucking god. Let's try that again. Use the wrench and get into the cell control room. Now that the cells are open, we can yoink them bolt cutters. The player is faced with a moral decision of leaving the German soldier to the beast for a feast, or closing the cell back up to keep him protected, and an achievement will be earned if choosing the latter. If we refer back to an earlier note, it is said that the code to get into the arsenal will be broadcasted to us if the player is able to get into communications. The key to communications is somewhere in the barracks. You see, in the bunker, things can be vague. Sometimes luck has to be on your side and you might just have to stumble upon the key in complete darkness. You sick, twisted game. Communications is open. Avoid this guy first.
Hello there.
Oh shit! Make sure the power is routed to the room and let's trigger that broadcast.
The arsenal code is 2, 1, 5, 3.
Write that down, write that down!
At this point, real progress is being made, and the thought of escaping one hell and entering another is becoming more of a reality. If we regroup at the safe room and take a look at the map, the player will notice some sketched in text that simply reads, 2 tunnels. This is where everything that the player thought they knew about this place gets turned upside down. We must enter the Roman tunnels. These are ancient Roman structures, deep underground, even further under the bunker itself. Down here we encounter a crazed French soldier, Toussaint Beaufort. Excuse my French. He will yell out to the player and try to kill you with a shotgun. What the f? We must take him out in self-defense, and the player can now acquire his weapon. While in the Roman tunnels, the player can see hallucinations. There's also a thick fog that blankets the entire area, as well as floating magical rocks that really leaves a lot up to the imagination, making us wonder what is exactly going on down here. If we dive a little deeper into the lore, it turns out that these ancient Roman structures are not quite authentic, and are in fact Mithraic in nature, being ground to their ancient rituals. Mithraism was a Roman mystery religion centered around the god Mithras. Their religion was viewed as a rival of early Christianity. It was subsequently eliminated by the Roman Empire by the end of the 4th century. After some wandering, we now have the detonator handle. Before leaving, we can get another glimpse of the outside world, and find the ditch that Lambert was stranded in along with his dog tag and a fuzzy little friend. The significance of the doll will make more sense by the end of this nightmare, or maybe you'll just miss it completely like I did and have to look it up. Either way, the doll was bought by Lambert and was meant to be given to his son upon his return home. We make our way back up to the main bunker, and use that arsenal code that we received earlier from the broadcast. Here the player will have to work their way through the entire arsenal. Once making it to the other side and grabbing the dynamite, both components that we fought so desperately to retrieve are now in the player's possession. It's time to make our escape. After taking this plunge, we come across yet another big reveal in the excavation site. A large chasm with several ancient pillars, a place that was used in brutal combat by the Mithraic cult, and will serve as the final arena for the player versus the beast. There's 2 potential endings to the game. As the beast approaches, it can be lured into a vulnerable state by throwing the doll out in front of us. The beast will stop and admire it, showing an emotional connection to it, while ultimately being sent to its death by the player. This leads us to believe that our best friend and fellow comrade Augustine Lambert was the beast the entire time. You see, Henry was doing everything he could to help save his friend, and that one small drink of water was the fatal mistake. The small sip of water that had been contaminated by the dark forces within the excavation site. This is what ultimately led to Lambert's transformation into the beast. Alternatively, Lambert can be avoided during the final arena stage of the game. Lambert will break through this wall and chase the player right up until the very end. We have finally reached the outside world. As we take a hard tumble down into a ditch filled with the dead, Lambert can be seen overhead. As he runs off into the battlefield, Henry is left hearing the enemy approaching rapidly. With either ending of this game, Henry has lost his best friend and we're left feeling hopeless. After enduring the most horrific night of his life and surviving this nightmare, Henry's fate is ultimately left in the hands of the approaching German soldiers, concluding the story of what I think will be one of the most memorable survival horror games I've ever played. Thank you for watching.